I'm going to give you about 7 to 9 different questions that you can ask, especially like sometimes towards the beginning of the conversation, sometimes in the middle, sometimes at the very end, all right, to help you find out what their budget or what type of funding they actually have, to make sure you're not wasting valuable selling time with people who can never get the funding together to purchase what you're offering, like your solution, okay? First of all, go down to the bottom of this video, hit the subscribe button. That's probably important for you. Hit the subscribe button, and to the right of that, or maybe the left, I don't know, somewhere in there, there's like a little bell. That's your notifications button. Hit the notifications button as well, so you get notified by YouTube every time I post a new training video, which I typically do 2 to 4 times a week. So I'm going to write these down on the board, so pay attention and write them down, all right? So whether you sell B2B, business to business, or B2C, you want to make sure your prospects actually have the funding or the budget, or they can get it to actually purchase what you're offering. Otherwise, you are wasting your valuable selling time. I see tons of salespeople quite literally trying to sell people who can never get funding for what they offer, and they are wasting their time on their prospects who could get the funding. Now, one thing I want to point out here before I go through these questions and why we're asking it, okay, I'm going to give you about 7 to 10 of these. The more pain your prospect experiences, okay, the more money the prospect will come up with to find the funds to purchase what you're offering. Now, they can only experience and relive that pain by your questioning ability that allows them to bring that pain and relive it and bring it to the surface of their conscious mind. We call that their emotional state. Now, like I said, I'm going to give you different examples if you sell B2B. So first of all, the first 3 or 4 or 5 questions I'm going to give you are mainly for B2B sales. And then after that, I'm going to give you several examples if you sell business to consumer or B2C. All right, the first question. Now, I want you to pay attention to my tonality and my body language when I ask these questions. Because if you ask them like a scripted robot, they're not going to connect emotionally with the prospects. Whereas if I ask them with the right tone, they are. Okay, John, could you go over with me your budgetary process? Sally, could you go over your budgetary process with me so I have more of a background? Now, did you notice my tone? Very relaxed, very calm, very neutral. I'm not going to say, John, could you go over with me your budgetary process? You don't want to sound like a scripted robot, okay? Sally, could you go over with me your budgetary process so I can understand better? Okay. Well, first of all, we've got to talk with Sally over in IT, and then I've got to get John's permission. And what it does is it allows you to understand how that organization works for their budget, right? This is more of a B2B question here. You're not going to ask this if you sell B2C. I'm going to give you different examples of B2C here in a minute, okay? So it allows you to understand how they're coming up with a budget to pay to solve these problems that your questioning has allowed them to help them understand they have. You're not going to ask this up front. This is going to be towards more of the end of the discovery session or discovery process that you have with them, all right? Now, let me ask a different way. Sally, just to see if we could actually do something for you guys, what budgetary parameters are you working with? Or I could cut it short. I could say, Sally, what budgetary parameters are you guys working with, just so I understand? Or what budgetary parameters are you guys working with here? Okay, there's different variations of that. Did you notice my tone? Did you notice how I'm saying that? Okay. All right. Now, let's go to another one. Now, that last question that I just asked, okay, it's a question that helps you understand how their funding process works in their company and allows you to understand if there are other decision makers in the organization that you need to get involved when I say that question. Now, here's another one, okay? John, can you tell me how the funding for this project would be determined? Sally, can you walk me through how the funding for this project is going to be determined? Now, did you see how my tone? I'm not going to say, John, can you walk me through how the funding for the project's going to be determined? Don't sound like a scripted robot. Amy, could you walk me through, or Amy, could you tell me how the funding for this project's being determined? Okay? It's a way for you to navigate in their organization to understand who else needs to be involved in the decision-making process. All right? Now let me give you another one for B2B. I'm going to give you a few more for B2B, then I'm going to give you some different examples if you sell B2C. We train every industry on planet Earth, 158 industries according to Forbes. About 58% are in B2C, 42% are in B2B. So we know all of them like the back of our hand. All right? Now, John, you had told me, okay? John, you had told me that your company had budgeted XYZ dollars to fix this problem. Can I ask how that was determined? Okay, now let me walk you through this again. Whatever cost is, let's say that the company you're talking with, because this is a B2B question here, not B2C, I'm going to show you B2C an example. Let's say that the company you're talking with has budgeted, I'm just going to throw out a random number, let's say $250,000 to solve a problem that they think they have, okay? But during your discovery process, instead of them thinking that they only have one problem, by your questioning ability that you can learn in our virtual training courses, not only are you able to help them find one problem, but now you've been able to help them find 3 to 4 other problems. So now by this point they realize they have a much bigger problems than they thought they had. Now when they were determining the budget before you talked to them, they thought they only had one problem that they budgeted 250 grand for. But let's say for you to fix all 4 of the problems that you have helped them see that they have through your questioning ability, now you know that it's going to be like $400,000 to fix all those problems, not 250. So this is going to set up your second question, okay? John, you told me that your company had budgeted about $250,000 to solve this type of issue. Can I ask how that was determined? Okay. Now, that also does a few other things. It helps you find out who the real decision makers are, okay, in the process. It also helps you see an entire picture of the company's funding process and if you need to pull in other decision makers. And it also sets you better to ask the next question after that. So if you know, because you've helped them find 3 or 4 other problems that they didn't know they had in the beginning, and you're able to, now you know that it's, instead of $250,000 like they budgeted, it's really going to cost them $375,000 or $400,000. So what they budgeted is not going to solve all these newfound problems. So then you're going to ask this question right here, okay? So once you find out they have a smaller budget than what is actually going to solve their problems, you're then going to say, so do you feel like the budget you've been given is sufficient to solve all these other problems that you just talked about? So do you feel like the budget you've been given by your CEO is sufficient to solve these other 2 issues that you talked to me that you had? Okay, see how I'm doing that. Do you feel like the budget you've been given is sufficient to actually solve the other 3 problems though? Now most of the time they're going to realize, they're going to say, I don't think it is. So they're going to realize that they have a too small of a budget to solve all these newfound problems that your questioning ability has allowed them to see they had, that they didn't know they had before they first started talking with you, okay? It gets them to think that maybe the budget they've been allocated is not going to solve the problems to get them where they want to go, and they need to go back and pull in more funding from another department to solve all these newfound problems. Are you with me on that? Okay. Here's another one, okay? You want to find out what objections or obstacles, like I said, I'm going to give you 1 or 2 more B2B, and the rest I'm going to give you B2C, budgeting questions. Now, in a B2B scenario, you want to find out what obstacles this decision maker or the person that you're first talking to, let's say it's a C-level executive, is going to have when they go back and talk to the other decision makers or when they go back to talk to the board. You want to find out what obstacles they're going to possibly have because you want to help coach them through those obstacles, right? And you want to help get other people involved in that decision-making process. You don't want to just hope and pray that this first C-level executive is going to be able to handle it like you can handle it, right? Okay, so this is very important. So, Sally, what obstacles would you possibly encounter when trying to get financial approval to solve these 2 problems? Okay, let's go through it again. John, what obstacles would you possibly encounter from the board when trying to get financial approval to solve those challenges? You want to know what obstacles they're going to have in place so you can walk them through and possibly suggest that you could possibly be there to go over these things or possibly help them walk them through, okay? It's very important that you want to get the board members, the decision makers, the influencers as well to understand what problems they can encounter so you can help them walk them through. Otherwise, you're just winging it and you're not going to be in position and strength to really secure that account. All right. All right, let me give you another one, and then we're going to go to some B2C different type of questions, right? So who else besides you would be involved in improving the budget to solve this? So notice again, I'm tying in the budget to solving their problems. You have to tie in them getting the budget, the money, to getting what they want. Okay, you see how that works? So who else besides you would be involved in approving the budget to solve this? Approving the budget to what? Solve this problem. See how that works? Okay. Now let's go through another one. So how will you get financial approval from the board to solve this issue you've talked about? So how do you see yourself getting financial approval from the company to actually solve this problem though? How do you see yourself getting financial approval from the other board members to actually solve XYZ issue? See, it allows you to see how the prospect's going to get the funding to solve their problems you've helped them uncover. All right, now let me give you a few different examples. If you sell B2C, so I'm going to give you a couple different examples if you sell B2C, and I might even throw in a couple B2B in here, all right? All right, these are going to be a little bit different. There's a few tweaks here. All right, so let's ask this question. Okay, so what type of funding do you have to put into this so that you can? Now, it depends on what you sell, okay? If you're talking to like a mom and pop type of business where there's one or two decision makers, just the owner of the retail store, okay, we might talk about funding, especially if it's an ROI type of solution. If we're talking about life insurance or something that doesn't make money, it's more about the funds. So what type of funds do you have to put into this so that you can, and you're going to repeat back what they said they wanted? Now, like I said, this is more of a B2C type of sale here where you're going to use the word funding or funds. All right, if you sell B2B, you might use budget or you could possibly use funds. Okay, now to remember at the end as well, you're going to tie in what they said they wanted. All right, so what type of funds do you have, and what type of funds do you have to put into this so that you can, and you're going to repeat back what they said they wanted? Everybody with me on that? Make sure you take notes on that. All right, I'm going to go a little bit faster now. Now, let me give you another example of what do you say. So let's say that early on in a conversation, this is more for B2C, it could be B2B here, but this is a B2C example. So let's say early on in a conversation, you get a sense that the prospect you're talking to might not be able to get the funds, the money, or the budget to actually purchase what you're offering, okay? You want to financially qualify them so you don't waste your precious selling time. Okay, like I said, we see thousands of salespeople that we train in companies that quite literally never find out if the prospect even has money or the budget and go through the whole process and waste hours of their time, if not several appointments, depending on if you sell B2C or B2B. Even if you sold B2C and it's a 1-call close or a 2-call close, you don't want to waste an hour to 2 hours of your time with somebody who can never get the funding together, all right? So let me give you a few examples, and I'm going to give you an industry-specific example here so you can kind of see how this process would actually work, all right? All right, so let's say in this example that you sell real estate training. Okay, so let's say that you sell for a company and you teach investors either how to scale their real estate, because let's say they only own a few properties and they want to get 50 properties a year, but right now they're getting 2 properties a year. Or let's say that they're a prospect that has a job and they want to get out of their job and learn how to invest full-time in real estate. So I'm going to give you an example in that industry. I can't give you examples in 160 different industries, but I'm going to give you an example in this one industry so I can show you how the framework works, and you're going to take that back and tie that same framework into what you sell, all right? So let's say that you sell, like I said, real estate training. You get a hint. They might say, well, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, or I'm about to declare bankruptcy. And they're telling you these things. You want to find out if they have the funds, okay? So I'm going to say, so let's do this. First and foremost, we need to make sure that we could actually help you. I'm assuming that you understand when you're wanting to make money in real estate that it's going to require capital or credit to put into the right training so you acquire the skill sets to be able to make that type of money in business. Now, with your situation, what type of funding or credit do you have access to be able to put into real estate so you can really make more money, so you can really grow your business, all right? So let's do this. First and foremost, we need to make sure that we could actually help you. So once again, you're pointing to them to make sure you can actually help them. You want them to feel that you are asking them this question to see if you can help them, okay? Now I'm assuming that you understand when you start your own real estate business or when you invest in real estate, depending on that it's going to require capital or credit to put into that so you can actually make more money. Now here we go. Write this down. So with your situation, what type of funding or credit do you have or can get access to be able to put into your business so you can make more money? Now, what did I just do there? Notice what I'm doing. You are tying in them getting the money, the funding, with what? Them getting what they said they wanted, okay? Which in this case, if you're selling real estate training, what do they want? They want to make more money and they want to have more time, okay? Do you see how that works? All right. Now, if they come back and they say they don't have any money, what do you do? If they're like, well, I don't know, I don't really have any money, because that could be what some people say, okay? You're going to say, well, with this business, and let's say that whatever you sell in that industry, it's $10,000. I'm just going to throw out a price point for examples. So yeah, with this business, you're going to need to put in around $10,000 or so when you start to make sure you have the right skill sets and training so you can make more money in the business. Is that something you can come up with if it fits into what you're looking for? Yeah, so with this business, you're going to need to put in around $10,000 when you start it to make sure you have the right training and knowledge so you can actually make more money. Is that something you can come up with if it fits into what you're looking for? Now, in this example, let's say if they come back and they say no again, okay? Then what you can do is give them other options to help them find the funding. So you can say something like this, all right? I'm going to give you a couple different scenarios, all right? Well, what I can do, John, if it helps you, is I can go over other ways our clients get the funding to start the business in real estate if they don't have it. And you'll have to see if you have those same avenues, if you're wanting to, make more money in real estate and really grow. Would that help you? Okay? Did you see what I did there? Once again, I tied in and positioned them getting the funding or the funds together to what they said they wanted. If they can get the funds, they get what they want. If they can't get the funds, they don't get what they want. Do you see how we're seeding that? We're tying in the money to the end result. That gets the prospect thinking results-based thinking over price or cost-based thinking, all right? Then you're going to go over different options. People get funding from the bank, the credit cards, home equity. There's a little bit more detail. I don't have time to go through that. And at the end of that, you're going to say, what of those avenues do you have? Okay? So at the end of that, you're going to say, well, what of those avenues do you have? Now, let me give you another example, okay? Let's say they come back and they say from the first question, when you say, what type of funding or credit do you have to put in to blah, 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 and they're like, well, I've got around $5,000 to $10,000 to invest, because that could happen too. Then you're not going to say, okay, well, our product costs $10,000. You're not going to say that because it's too early in the conversation. You're going to say, okay, I just wanted to make sure that we could actually help you, because with what we do for our clients, you'll need to put in around that $7,000 to $10,000 range to put into the training to make sure that you're profitable in real estate starting out. Is that something you can come up with if it fits into what you're looking for? Yeah, I could do that. Okay. Now, the worst case scenario, if they don't have 10 and they only get 7 and they don't have other avenues to get the other 3, which is very doubtful at that point, you could downsell them into a payment plan. Okay, maybe like a 2-payment plan option to keep it easier for them if you feel that you need to do that to get the deal over the line. See how that works? Okay, all right. Join our free Facebook group. Go to www.salesrevolution.pro. We should have a link on here somewhere, salesrevolution.pro. Right when you join the salesrevolution.pro Facebook group, because we've got thousands of entrepreneurs in there, thousands of salespeople like you, thousands of coaches, consultants, executives in there that want to sell more. Right when you join, check your DMs, because we're going to message you. Some of my team's going to message you a free training called the NEPQ 101 mini course. It's going to give you a list of different questions and phrases you can use in any sales situation. That alone is going to help you sell more than what you're doing now. And we go live in the Facebook group about 3 to 4 times a week with different subject matter trainings, different Q&As, different client interviews that will also help you sell more. Join the Facebook group, salesrevolution.pro. See you there.